What?
Businesses worth billions of dollars. How do you know that? Donald Trump has created tens of thousands of jobs, and he's paid payroll.
What is it? What?
$50 billion.
What? You too? You making all kinds of noise? Who's making all this noise? You too?
Following this morning, President Barack Obama says federal emergency officials are on the ground in 3 states as Hurricane Matthew makes its way to the U.S. mainland. The president was briefed Wednesday on the federal government's preparation for the storm that crossed the southeast. So my direction came out.
Kitty.
On the ground in Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. They're working with state and local officials to prepare for the storm. We've already got response teams and supply crew positions and ready to help communities in the region. I want to emphasize the potential for storm surge when all of that began to devastate the town. This is something that takes serious.
Daisy. Daisy. Sniffed the camera lens. What are you doing? No, how about it? What's some footsie tickles? Tick, 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 tick. What's that kitty do? Where did that kitty go? Huh? Kitty. Bye, everybody.
You look online and in online search results with ReputationDefender.com. Call 800-669-1520 now. That's 800-66. You have negative material from an ex-employee, upset patient, or former client, newspaper article, legal issue, social media, or other source showing up in your search results. You can combat it with ReputationDefender.com. Our dedicated experts in patented technology can help make your online search results look their best. Call 800-669-1520 to learn more. 800-669-1520. That's 800-669-1520. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
Hi, Mom. Is Claire's birthday party today? Me again, Mom. Where did I put my history book? Hi. Sorry, forgot one last thing. Sometimes it's hard to concentrate. At school, I start looking out the window, and then I forget what I'm supposed to be thinking about. I know it seems like I don't care, but I do. It's just difficult for me. Love you, Mom. Bye.
Join parents and experts at Understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive. Brought to you by Understood.org and the Ad Council. We all know goodwill.
Hurricane warning further north into Georgia. Winds this morning in just a few hours increasing to 125 miles per hour. Some 3,000 people have already checked into shelters in Florida. According to the Division of Emergency Management, 48 shelters are providing refuge for 3,015 people. Another 13. You too. That's CNN rights contributor at Breitbart and American thinker, author of WTF, How Karl Rove and the Establishment Lost Again. Today's Money Metals Minute brought to you by MoneyMetals.com. Golden, you can check out for more information, check out MoneyMetals.com. That's also where you can get live prices on gold and silver. Our producer is David Milligan. You've got America's Morning News, where the nation's news breaks.
You're listening to America's Morning News. For more information on America's Morning News, created and produced by TRN Entertainment, go to trn1.com. America.
Cream contains the most potent ingredient to soothe even the most excruciating pain associated with sciatica. Stop the pain now. Ask for Dr. Zhang's Sciatica Nerve Cream at your local health food store or go online to trasknutrition.com.
Would you like relief from muscle pain, headaches, and discomfort to sleep better, have more energy during the day, and just feel naturally amazing? Fibromalic can help. Its blend of malic acid and magnesium can provide pain relief and comfort for those who experience fibromyalgia. It helps your body absorb more oxygen, and it works quickly for a significant reduction in pain within 48 hours, all without a prescription. Ask for Fibromalic at Health and Vitamin Shop or shop fibromalic.com.
Broadcasting from the San Francisco Bay Area.
At the end of the game. Beautiful. Bye-bye, New York. Good morning, Chicago. I love him.
Oh, gosh, he's great. He's just so good. Well, let's hear from Connor. Okay, here we go. Cut number 3.
I've worked so hard behind the scenes. When you get in situations and games like this, it's almost like you just trust that what you do works, you know what I mean? Because you don't have time to sit up.
She asked him something, I don't remember what it was, and went, oh, man, why are you asking me all these hard questions?
Follow this recipe and you'll win. And it's true. If he does what she's describing, he will win. So I hope he's taking the time to prepare, because he needs to prepare. I mean, I know he's Mr. Off the Cuff, but he needs to prepare, please. Also, we got some Hillary scandal, more scandal from emails. But, the rest of the media won't pay attention to this. Hillary and Chelsea, and a friend of Chelsea's, getting contracts with the State Department while Mommy is in charge. Great! Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Loving that. Let's see, what else is in the news? Oh, I've got to read to you. Katie, you've got to see this, what the New York papers are saying about the game.
Oh, yeah?
Because they're heaping so much praise on Bumgardner, it's amazing. Outrageous costs, which might spell doom for this Golden Gate Bridge anti-suicide net, which people have wanted for years and years and years and years.
It's like, oh, here we go. I'm at work, just got here. Let me open up all the news outlets in the area to see what's going on. And front and center of all the websites is a picture of a clown.
Yes, I know. It's just
holding this stiff balloon. I just hate it.
It's evil.
Right lane blocked at this time. Checking with CHP. Looks like there's a stall in that area. I'm also seeing some slowing. 680 northbound at Monument. The on-ramp there is blocked at this time. And we also have a problem right now on 280 in the southbound direction at 101. There is a vehicle in the left lane, CHP, waiting for a tow truck. Bart, no problems to report.
Our windows have a story to tell, shouldn't yours?
Hi, my name is Bill, and this is my wife Kathleen, and we are the owners of American Vision Windows.
Bill and Kathleen founded American Vision Windows because of first-hand experience.
We didn't have people returning our calls. When they'd come, they really weren't professional. They didn't give us a full presentation to understand what I was buying, the benefits I was going to have, all the stuff that we like to share with the customer now. I didn't feel like we could make a super educated decision.
It was pretty obvious to Bill and Kathleen that the industry needed better customer service, but a root canal. Or who do you call when you need to take care of that appendicitis? Of course, you call on a pro, a dentist, a doctor. So how about your retirement planning, investing, reallocation, choosing the right financial products, staying on top of the market, figuring out your risk level, calculating income stream, folks? Your financial future deserves to be handled by a professional. Talk to an advisor at Vitucci & Associates. The first consultation is complimentary. Get a professional opinion on the health of your finances.
Yes, I'm calling about a guest reservation that is staying with us tonight.
Oh, man. See you guys.
By the Shams. Go to their website and check out Rich Uncle's Read a Reg A Tier 2 offering.
See you later.
Go to richuncles.com. That's richuncles.com or call 855-RICH-UNCLE.
Rich Uncle's Read is indications of interest concerning its Reg A Tier 2 securities offer. Any indications of interest involves no obligation or commitment of any kind. No money or other considerations being solicited. Any standing response will not be accepted. No sales will be made or commitment to purchase accepted. Shall be offered statements qualified. Meaning all limits contained under $2,000 by Rich Uncle's conceal message. You're listening to Rush Limbaugh. Coming up with news is Untitled Chapter. 5% rate of APR. 15-year fixed-rate loans with no closing.
Really? 2.75%?
It may sound too good to believe, but if you call now, Cash Call Mortgage can put a smile on your face when you start saving interest in just a few weeks. After a year, you don't have a 2.75 APR. So call San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose. Unit station.
Florida's east coast with 140 miles per hour winds and heavy rain. Millions have evacuated as far north as North Carolina and in Georgia, where Governor Nathan Deal has now declared a state of emergency, a warning from him of a different kind. It was also made clear in my executive order that there should be no price gouging during this emergency, because that is something that is already against the law in Georgia. Florida Governor Rick Scott says his state has only a 6-day supply of gas, with deliveries expected to be disrupted.
Leave fuel for the next person so everybody has a chance to get as much.
And many of the districts are in swing states, battleground states, like Iowa, Pennsylvania, and so forth.
Senator Bernie Sanders campaigning in Michigan today for Hillary Clinton had a thank you for Donald Trump, who reports say may not have paid income taxes for almost 2 decades.
I want to thank him. I've been running all over this country talking about a rigged economy, and in one day, he did more than I did in a year in exposing the corruption of our political system and our tax system.
On Wall Street, stocks are narrowly mixed this hour. I'm Michael Toscano.
Talk Radio 560 KSLO Travel, brought to you by American Restaurant Gas and Construction. The winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Toscano. Agreement that will strangle businesses in America. Now let me give you a little lesson in global warming. I try to do difficulties in the study. One, and stop lying to everybody. He's simply a front man for the gangsters who want to peddle more solar, more wind, more plants that produce next to nothing for trillions of dollars. You know, I noticed something, this DiCaprio thing on climate deniers should not be allowed to hold public office. That was the best. Think slow. Here's something to think about from the Alzheimer's Association. New research shows that regular exercise and a heart-healthy diet may reduce the risk of Alzheimer's disease. Visit the Alzheimer's Association today at alz.org for more ways to maintain your brain. alz.org. There's nothing political about it. I suppose you can make it political in some way, but it isn't. It just shows you how the creative mind works. A creative mind can take a dissonance and turn dissonance into beauty. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's what's talk radio really does. We take the dissonance of our society, I guess, if I want to general. I've always needed order in my life. In fact, I get very upset with disorder. Some would say today, if you had a kid who was doing what I did as a kid, they'd probably put him on medications for that. But I, to this day, love order. I've always built model airplanes as a kid. I'm just reminiscing while you're waiting for the storm to hit. I think that's what I'm feeling. I'm very intuitive. The whole nation's waiting for the storm to hit. That's all. Nothing. The nation's already paralyzed. Paralyzed is sitting there waiting to reopen.
Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for your patience. Virgin Atlantic Flight DS-2883 on the lower level. We are currently welcoming our upper class passengers, Flight Club Gold partners, and Delta Diamond platform holders. You will report at any time on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, you have passengers who need extra assistance down the jet bridge, and also any families are traveling with children under the age of 5. You go on the right-hand side. Have your passports and boarding passes to open inspection page and ready for final inspection.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Hi there.
Thank you for flying with us today. You're no doubt keen to lose yourself in our dazzling world of entertainment. But first we're going to show you a safety film, and we'd like you to give it your full attention. It's really important that you watch and understand it, because together we're all responsible for safety on this flight. It helps explain the safety equipment and procedures of this particular aircraft, and gives you an idea of what to do in an emergency. If you have any questions after watching it, the aisles and exits need to be kept clear. So, if there is anything you haven't put in the overhead lockers, put them under the seat in front of you. Now.
It's really important that your seatbelt is securely fastened. If it isn't, push the two ends together until they click. Then tighten it by pulling the strap, like this. If there's an airbag attached, make sure it's not twisted. You can open your seatbelt like this. Masks drop, keep your seatbelt on and pull the tag or the mask down to turn on the oxygen. Put the mask over your mouth and nose with the rubber band around your head. Fit your mask first before helping anyone else with theirs. You absolutely can't smoke anywhere on this flight. And that means anywhere, not even the toilets. It's just not safe. The same goes for these electronic and smokeless cigarettes. We all have a lot of electronic devices. Please make sure you switch to flight safe or airplane mode now. For more details on using your devices on the flight, please take a look at your safety card. If we land on water, take your life jacket from under your seat. Pull the tab to release it, then open the bag and take the jacket out. Slip it over your head, pass the long strap around your waist and secure with a clip at the front. Pull on the loose end to tighten it. Only inflate it when you're outside so it doesn't restrict your escape. Pull the red tab hard or blow into the tube to inflate. There's a light to attract attention. Cabin crew will hand out smaller life jacket for children. To help reduce injury in an emergency landing, fasten your seatbelt tight. Put both feet together, firmly on the floor, slightly under your seat. Place one hand over the other on the back of your head. Bend forward, elbows outside your knees. Rest your head on the seat in front of you here. If you have a child on your lap, place one hand on your head, lean over your child and place one hand on their head. Lights will guide you to the exits in an emergency. And there are green signs at the doors. The cabin crew will point out the exits now. Please remember where your nearest exit is. It might be right there, behind you. If you need to open the door, move the big handle in the direction of the arrow. As the door opens, slide will inflate. If it doesn't, then just pull the red handle. Leave everything behind you, and take off anything that could damage the slide. Jump on the slide, and when you get to the end, move away quickly. The slides can also be used as rafts. Okay, we're nearly ready to go. Please now make sure your seatbelt's fastened low and tight, your seat's upright, the armrest is down, and your footrest is tucked away. If your screen isn't in the back of the seat in front of you, return it to its home now. There's a safety card in your seat pocket. Have a good look through to remind you of what you've seen and for information about this particular aircraft. Please always pay attention to the signs and the crew. They're there to keep you safe, so if you have any questions, just ask. Now sit back and enjoy your flight, and thanks for watching.
We're shortly after take-off, Pete run through some of the services in the cabin. So please just sit relax and enjoy the flight. Thank you.
Virgin Atlantic. If you intend buying duty-free liquids at all, So if you've requested assistance here, please stay in your seats until most of the customers have left the aircraft. We'll then be able to assist you. Well, we hope you've enjoyed your time on board today with us. Wherever you're going, have a safe journey. We look forward to welcoming you back on board again soon. And if you need any information to help plan your next flight, take a look at our website, virginatlantic.com, or find us on Facebook or Twitter. We'll soon pass you to the care of our airport staff. So goodbye and a very good morning.
under the
hang around.
footstool.
Raised your voice, use profanity.
In the overground, there's no service, and you've got the local parking, you've got the planned engineering.
London Overground has no service cost below parking due to planned engineering work. There is a good service on all our routes and all our lines.
Please mind the gap between the train and the platform. This is Knightsbridge. This is a Piccadilly.
vegan cheese.
Yes, that's the one I've just seen a while ago, yeah. Okay. Well, maybe I'm on the DLR now, so maybe a little bit longer than that. I'm not going to get out. Actually, no, I could probably do it on the phone if I can sort things out with the car. I just need to sync things up a bit. I'll try and do that now. Alright. Thanks then, bye.
This train is for Lewisham. The next stop is South Quay. When leaving the train, please remember to take all your belongings with you.
Hey there. What?
So it's a fantastic job to have as somebody in the June period, even though it is incredibly hot. And kids couldn't do this job because they collapsed in heat exhaustion. So they had men doing it. And if you couldn't stand it, then there'd be a queue of people outside ready and willing to replace it. Just
Thanks.
Oh, look.
Sit that way. Doing?
I think this way.
Well, I guess no one does.
This way, because that's the way we just came from. Well, it's not that. Just why is it we say
Okay, let's go. Start to get up now. Stand up. Stand up, that's it. Go on then. Touch it.
Sėdėjo visą laiką. Nu tai kur žmogus nori, ten ir sėdė, o ką tau pavydas? Jei tai pavyzdys, filmą pavyzdys draugus. Aš norėjau nuo tos sakys, sako, Vikos Marčiai. Jinai pavydė. Kokius jau. Kaip ateinu, apsirengiu, pasidedu vieną vietą, taip išeinu, taip naudoju. Tai bet jinai net neatsimena vieno. Nežinau, gal buvo daug žodžių. Tai aš jai sakiau,
This train is now approaching its final stop. This is London Waterloo. Change here for London Underground services. Please remember to take all your personal items with you when you leave the train. Please mind the gap between the train and the platform edge.
we went there, that we were like... babae, tegu praeina per autoparką. Tai žinai, kiek yra nusikartų. Jie beviziai yra čia. Tai tegu ir eina ir va dabar išsakė. Tai dar čia neaišku, apie tiltoris. Aš žinau, kad bus, bet man čia reikia neapsiduoti kažką. Tiesiog paimtų naujų metų ir jį galima steigti. Kažkaip arba kokį pradėti sąjungą. Dėl aš pačiu ne aš gyvenu viršams pradėjau 18 jinai pasidarius self-employed matai šučiūrės susidėlė
This train is for Lewisham. The next stop is South Quay. When leaving the train, please remember to take all your belongings with you.
But if you could provide a off-the-street service, no, but I just think it's fine with myself. What about suppliers? They join to architects in London and then they fold them all up a certain way. Is that right? Yeah. I don't know how much each of them, but like my brother, haven't you got your own? We need some help with meetings. She comes to give us some bullshit. She's really so she does PowerPoint presentations. Really good with Microsoft Office. She does all those things. So, but she was telling me that to deck out these offices for something blue. Business class.
Going to Montezuma, proposing a remark to compete for the Multimedia Prize, and went to London seeking financial assistance. He presented his ideas to Edmund Halley, the astronomer. Halley referred him to George Graham, the country's foremost clockmaker, who must have been impressed, but Graham personally loaned Harrison money to build it.
As you can see, it is huge, weighing 33 kilograms, and instead of a pendulum, it uses two 4-kilogram small bar balances, and it has...
In the 4th
device each.
I remember doing that.
And 50 seconds. As for those jokes, it will be 10 o'clock. At the first row, it will be 8:56 and 50 seconds.
Broadway. Your shorts are here over that. Slow.
Caller, Windsor and Eton Central only. This train has 2 coaches.
Our next station is Windsor and Eton Central. This station is Windsor and Eton Central.
Outside, but in the state apartments, and if you go into the chapel for a service perhaps, because it's closed to visitors on Sundays, there's no photos in either of those places. We do also ask that you don't audio record the so you'll notice we're quite close by to Heathrow Airport. Planes fly over every 20 or 30 seconds. So again, if you can't hear me, it shouldn't be too much of a problem with the size of our group, but if you do find that, give me a shout, wave your hand, let me know, and I'll try and speak a little bit louder. So that's probably it for the sort of health and safety bits and bobs. So a little bit of information about the history of the castle to start with. This is the oldest and largest working castle in the world, and it's been home to around 42 monarchs, 42 kings and queens throughout its long life. Now, it started life in 1070. William the Conqueror came to England in 1066 and built lots of castles, mainly in the Norman Motte and Bailey style, and built Windsor as a ring of 9 castles around London to guard the central fortress of the Tower of London. Now, Windsor's unusual is it's the only one of these 9 to still survive in its entirety today, and as we walk up the hill, I'll try and name the other 8 for you. So really, since then, it's been the home of the kings and the queens, and our present Queen, Her Majesty Elizabeth II, whose photograph you'll see to your right, is the present resident of the castle. It's one of 3 official residences of the Queen, the other 2 being Buckingham Palace in London and Holyrood up in Scotland. So we're going to make our way up the pathway now to our first stop, and I'll try and name some of those 8 castles on the way if you'd like to follow me. So Raleigh, Reigate, Rochester, Tonbridge, Ongar, Hertford, Guildford, Berkhamsted and Windsor. Try and do it every 6 months.
And those were all built by William the Conqueror? Is that right?
He built loads more throughout London, but those were the 9 that were in a circle around London, guarding the Tower of London.
And how many of those are still
Windsor
around today? Just this one?
Yeah. Some of them are ruins, some of them are just gateways, archways, some of them just grass, don't exist at all.
Right.
So yeah, we're very fortunate to have Windsor as what it is today. So we're just going to gather here. If you guys are facing this way, stand here so you can see. Okay, so just a quick stop before we carry on to our more official stops. If you have a look at the right hand side, you'll see a clock tower with a blue clock at the top. This is Bertha's house. Now, Charles II, when he became king in the mid-1600s, came to Windsor, and he was known for having many mistresses. His nickname was later the Merry Monarch because of this. And one of his most famous mistresses was a lady called Nell Gwyn, who was an actress and an orange seller. Now, Nell Gwyn lived in Bertha's house, and it is said that there were secret tunnels leading from the house, possibly underneath where we are at the moment, straight to the king's apartments, straight to his bedrooms. Now, Nell Gwyn gave the king an illegitimate son who grew up to be the Earl of Burford, hence the name of the house. Sorry, so we do ask that you don't audio record the precinct tour, thank you. I did mention at the start of the tour. Sorry, guys. On the left-hand side, you can see a long roof building. This is the mews, the stables where the Queen's horses are kept. The Queen still rides today. You may have seen a photo of her recently in Scotland riding, and also earlier in the year around Windsor Great Park. It's also the location of Prince Philip's landaus and state coaches, and an indoor riding school, which many members of the royal family have learned to ride there. And hopefully, you never know, when Prince George and Princess Charlotte grow up, get a little bit older, they'll be able to learn to ride there as well. Now you can't see it, it's not in our eye line, but just to the left of the mews, trust me, it is there. There is the Castle Fire Station. Now you may know we had a great fire here on the 20th of November 1992. I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the outside area of where it happened. But just to say here that since then we've always had a Castle Fire Brigade. Someone sitting there all the time watching the CCTV, monitoring all the different alarms that take place, all the different fire doors, evacuation routes and so forth. So hopefully none of that will ever happen again. And one last thing before we move on. Garden House, the doors here immediately to your left, were originally, this area was the home of Queen Anne. Now I don't know how much you know about Queen Anne. She had a rather short reign in the 1700s and had around 17 or 18 pregnancies and no surviving heir to the throne. Her only surviving son, who was the Duke of Gloucester, he died on his 11th birthday allegedly at Kensington Palace. So sadly when Queen Anne died, no surviving heir to the throne, so they had to trace the royal family tree back to Hanover, to Georg Ludwig of Hanover, who came over from Germany to England to become George I. So you may recall a couple of years ago was the anniversary in 2014. There was a lot of programmes and exhibitions on TV and in museums nearby to celebrate that fact. And today Garden House is the official residence, the official headquarters of the Metropolitan Police, who guard the Queen both here at Windsor and everywhere she travels. So you might see one of those policemen as you walk up, so be on your best behaviour. That's following me. Okay, feel free to join the police. We've literally just started, so we haven't been going for very long. Pathway on the right here. So you have a good view of the round tower in front of us. So if you look right to the top of the tower, you will see a flag, and this flag, well, there is a flag that flies at Windsor to show whether the Queen is at home or in the past when the monarch was in residence or not. Now we sometimes fly the Union flag, the national flag of the United Kingdom, and that flies when the Queen is not here, but you'll notice today flying a different flag, the Royal Standard, which shows the Queen is here, so a little bit more of a close-up view of it. The red lines of England, the yellow line of Scotland and the blue heart of Ireland. And this flies at Windsor really Thursday afternoons to Monday afternoons when the Queen is here. Now the rest of the weekdays the Queen is in Buckingham Palace in London for, well, I suppose Tuesday afternoons to Thursday mornings. I suppose the rest of that time the Queen goes to Windsor. There are a couple of exceptions to that. In the summer, the end of July to the end of September, the Queen goes to Scotland, to Holyrood and Balmoral, where she spends a couple of months to relax for the summer. And then in the winter, for about a month or so, 3 weeks or so in December, the Queen goes to Sandringham up in Norfolk. Now, you'll notice the flag if you're local or you've seen the castle recently. We actually haven't had the Royal Standard flying since the Queen went to Scotland at the end of July. So this is the first weekend that we've had the flag flying. I think the Queen came back on Thursday or Friday, so yeah, it's been flying for a few days now, but it's quite exciting that this is the first weekend recently. Now there are a couple of other exceptions to that rule. The whole month of April the Queen's in residence at Windsor for the whole month, what's known as Easter Court, where she attends a service in St George's Chapel on Easter Sunday. Also in Easter Court is when state visits often take place. Now in June, the Queen is here for most of the month when Royal Ascot takes place, and also the Garter Day ceremony, which we'll talk about in a moment. But if you cast your eyes further down to the tower itself, the oldest part of the castle, originally created as an earth and chalk mound with a wooden keep, a wooden building on the top for William the Conqueror, and then the stone tower was placed there 100 years later. I'll talk a bit more about the round tower as we get closer to it, but just to let you know that all you see around you that make up the castle today, all 13 acres of it, all different architectural styles, different building materials, really was built by four main monarchs. So if you remember nothing else from this tour, please do remember the four kings that had the greatest influence on building at the castle. So William the Conqueror, obviously in 1070, Edward III, who I'm going to talk about in a moment, in the mid-1300s, Charles II, our merry monarch we spoke about earlier, in the mid-1600s, and George IV in the early 1800s. And again, I will talk about all of them as we go along the tour, but just to give you their names and their rough dates to put it in context for you. So now I'm going to cast your minds back to the early 1300s, if you'd like to gather around the Garter Star. All around the castle, on paintings, on carpets, on ceilings, even on your audio guides. And Edward III was the first king to be born here at Windsor Castle in the early 1300s. He grew up surrounded by the ideal of the myth and legend of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. So in 1348 he decided to create the highest order of chivalry here at Windsor, the Order of the Garter. St George's Chapel is the spiritual home of the order, and there's two main reasons as to how it came about. So one is Edward III's claim to the French throne. When you see the garter in colour, the garter, the belt itself, is blue and gold, colours of France. And the motto, you'll see in Old French, the language of the court at the time, Honi soit qui mal y pense, which translates as shame on he who thinks evil of it. So one reason, the king's claim to the French throne. The other reason, more romantic reason, is to celebrate the capture of Calais in France. The king's ladies are wandering around the court, as you do, and the Countess of Salisbury, possibly the king's mistress, dropped her garter, worn on the leg, whether on purpose or by accident we don't know, but it fell to the floor. Now the king, in a gesture of chivalry, picked it up, wrapped it around his own leg, and uttered the motto, shame on he who thinks evil of it, to those who are mocking the situation. Now this is a later, more, 1500s idea of how it came about. It was about 700 years ago. Sadly, we don't know for sure, but those are the two main theories found in academic books on the subject. One of my colleagues, whose name is also ironically Edward, he's an expert on Edward III. He could probably tell you what the king had for breakfast on the 4th of October 1345, for example. And one of his theories is it may have been a battle cry. So the king would have raised his garter, shouted Honi soit qui mal y pense to raise his troop in battle. There are other theories, potentially witchcraft had something to do with it. There's a few others, but if you do see Ed, he might be working up in the State Department. Do talk to him about it. He may be able to offer a little bit more illumination on that, as it's, I suppose, speculation really 700 years in advance. It still continues today. Garter Day is celebrated every year in June, when the Queen, the Garter Knights, the military knights, and many other people process from the apartments down the hill to the chapel where a service of Thanksgiving is held. And if there are any vacancies and the Queen's appointed someone, that's when they are created into the order as well. The public, although the castle is closed on that day, people can apply for tickets to sit on the grass and watch the procession. So it's well worth seeing. You could probably be about as far away as I am to you from the Queen, so with soldiers in the way. But it's an amazing occasion. So if you haven't done it before, please do look on the website for that. So there's always 24 people at any one given time. And the only way you can become one of these 24 is when one of them passes away, and you also have to be handpicked by the Queen. Now, there were two created this year. One of them was Lord Shuttleworth, the other was a former Mayor of London, not Boris Johnson. I forget the name, but I'll have to look it up and remember it for my next tour. A couple of years ago, the retired head of the Bank of England, Mervyn King, and the retired head of the MI6, Lady Manningham Buller, were also created. So you can get a list of all the modern current 24 knights in St George's Chapel on their website, for example. And also when you go into St George's Hall in the State Apartments, the room with all the shields on the ceiling, do ask any of my colleagues. They do have a book there with all of the 1008, 1009 knights since it began. So if you like the look of Shield 532, for example, go and ask them and they'll let you know who that shield belongs to and why they were appointed to the order. Prince William was number 1000, so do have a look at his coat of arms when you get to St George's Hall as well. And many people do ask why the number 24. It's because it divides perfectly into two teams of 12, the jousting tournaments, which we'll hear about at our next stop, St George's Gate, so if you'd like to follow me. Do make sure you have a good view, particularly of the state entrance, the archway in the middle. Okay, so here we are at St George's Gate, and if you look across to the archway, the state entrance, above it you will see two statues. On the left-hand side you've got Edward III, and on the queen had an outfit made of 3,000 peacock feathers for one of the occasions, so fairly extravagant. The grass area would have been much bigger, and there would have been 2 tents, one on either side, one with the a similar version to the present Royal Standard of Edward III, and one the coat of arms of the Black Prince. Now this would have been reflected in their tabards, their uniforms of cloth of gold, which would have sparkled in the sunshine. You can imagine the noise, the crowd standing where we are and on some of the other sides of the quadrangle, really drowning out the noise of the tournament. So the crowds would have been feasting, drinking, dancing, celebrating. However, the noise of the tournament as the knights rode towards each other, the clash of the armour on the swords as they tried to knock their opponent off their horse. So it must have been an amazing occasion. However, on a more serious note, the Black Prince first went into battle properly when he was only 14 years old. So they did take battle incredibly seriously in those days. You cast your eyes back to the state entrance and then look to your right. You will see the outside of St George's Hall, and in the very corner you might be able to see the turret, of which now contains the lantern lobby, but was a private chapel of the monarch from Queen Victoria's time until pretty much the present day. That's where the fire started. So spotlights are brought in for maintenance work. They were redoing the electric wiring under the floor, and one of the spotlights overheated as it was behind the altar cloth, behind the cross. Possibly a painting may have lent against the material, which lent against the light. The light overheated and set fire, spread to the ceilings, and the alarms were pretty much raised immediately. People were working in St George's Hall next door, and they telephoned, and fire brigades came pretty much as soon as possible. 7 different fire brigades attended the scene. It took 15 hours to extinguish the fire. 7 staterooms and over 100 smaller rooms were damaged, and about 1.5 million gallons of water were pumped through the ancient timbers. So much so that where are we now, 25 years or so later? Lime wash is still being painted on the walls underneath where the kitchens are to draw out all the moisture from the stonework. So it took 5 years to restore at a cost of £37 million. The original budget was £42 million. However, the companies that were working for the castle wanted to undercut their prices to get the prestige of working here. So that's how the cost came down. And that money was raised by opening Buckingham Palace to the public, which, as you know, still continues today. So all the money that people spend on their tickets and their postcards and things all go towards looking after the conservation of the outside of the building, and also the paintings and all the furnishings and the rooms inside as well, providing it for future generations too. So amazingly, only 3 items completely perished. One was the Victorian organ in situ in the private chapel. Sadly, you can't quickly remove an organ and all its pipes. A large Victorian cabinet, of which a replica you can see in the state dining room where the exhibition of the Queen's clothes is at the moment, and a large painting of George III and his family, of which a similar one can be seen again in the state dining room. So as I mentioned, it took 5 years to restore, and it reopened on the same date, the 20th of November 1997, the Queen's Golden Wedding Anniversary. So we're now going to head down the hill to our next stop at Middle Ward. The view is the Round Tower, the oldest part of the castle. Now, I mentioned in 1070 William the Conqueror built Windsor as an earth and chalk mound, the hill, and a wooden building on the top in the style of Norman castles, the motte or the bailey. The motte being the mound and the bailey being the fenced yard around it. And Windsor's unusual as it has 2 bailies, upper ward and lower ward, which we'll talk about in a moment. But going back to the tower, we've never had any water in our moat. It's always been dry, and that's really because of the chalk in the ground. So when it rains, all the rain just dissipates through the chalk and into the ground below, so we've never had any water in our moat. Now, 100 years after the mound was built, once it has hardened and solidified enough to support a larger weight, a stone tower was added on top in place of the wooden heap. And that's pretty much the same, certainly the same stones you see on the tower today. It was rebuilt in the 1220s, and it stayed at the original height, which if you look about halfway up, you'll see a stone rim, a stone girdle. It's a bit confusing with the scaffolding anyway, but hopefully you can make it out with the windows change shape. That's the original height, really from 1170, 1220s, all the way up to the 1820s. Now in the 1820s, George IV came to the throne. I don't know how much again you know about George IV, whether you've seen stories portraying of him in Blackadder on TV, or any other documentaries about him. He loved spending money. If he was given something big, he wanted it made bigger. If he was given something gold, he wanted more gold and more sparkles added to it. He did this with the Round Tower. When he came to Windsor, he looked at it, the original height, and thought, no, it's just not big enough, I want it even bigger. So he asked his architect, a man called Sir Geoffrey Wyattfield, to build the top 33 feet or 10 metres to the height of the Round Tower, creating the iconic silhouette we see on the skyline today. Now, I know the season's over and done with now, but if you do visit us next summer, the end of July to the end of September time when the Queen's away, you can climb up the 200 steps to the top of the tower on a guided tour. And when the weather is good, you can see as far away as London, 26 miles away, to the Shards, to Wembley Stadium Arch and Canary Wharf and various places like that. So it's well worth doing if you want to come and visit us at that time of year. Now, one of our main questions at the castle is, particularly when we're standing here, is does the Queen live in the Round Tower? The answer is no. We'll have a look at the outside of the private apartments in a moment, but the Round Tower does house very important documents making up the Royal Archives, so documents and letters really from the royal family from the 1700s up to the present day, although they do have a lot of older documents as well dating back to the 1200s. Also the Royal Photograph Collection, so private and public photos of the royal family from Queen Victoria's time when photography first came about, again up until the present day. And we normally say if Queen Victoria were here now, seeing everyone with their cameras, their phones, their audio guides I suppose as well, she would not be amused. So that brings us to the three wards. Middle ward where we are at the moment really links the outer two wards. So later on when you're wandering around, it helps you get your bearings a bit. If you're here, you know you're in the middle ward. The upper ward's just in front of us, has the estate and the private apartments, some of the 951 rooms which make up the castle. Again, that's another of our questions we get here, how many rooms are in the whole castle? If there's nearly 1,000 in upper ward and there's three wards, I educated guess maybe a couple of thousand, but I don't know whether there's anyone that's been in all of the rooms, which is quite an interesting thought. And then lower ward, which is just behind us. So we'll just spin around and have a look. You don't need to move anywhere, just face up. Honey coloured brick building, St George's Chapel. Now this was built in 1475 for Edward IV, but finished 50 years later for Henry VIII. And it's famous for having 10 kings buried within it. Henry VIII is probably the most famous with his third wife Jane Seymour. Charles I is also buried in the same crypt as Henry VIII. He was the only British king to have lost his head at Whitehall in London. And it is said that when he was brought back to Windsor to be buried, there is a table which is in the Dean's house, the Deanery, just the white building where the large window is to the right of a tree there. And the table is in that room where Charles I's head was sewn back on his body before he was interred in the chapel. Now, more recently, the present Queen's parents and grandparents are also buried in the chapel, along with Princess Margaret, the Queen's sister. Now, as it's a Sunday, it is a working chapel, so it is closed for services only, but services are welcome for anyone to attend. So do check the timings just outside Henry VIII's gate if you fancy going to a service. And normally some services are about 45 minutes long with some choir and organ. But yeah, do feel free to go along to that. It's fantastic with the choir, a beautiful sound, a beautiful service, and it's one way of having a look at the chapel when it's closed on Sundays. Now further down the hill, you'll notice a guard surrounded by lots of people. He's still in his summer uniform, his red tunic, and they stand there for 2 hours on post and they have a 4-hour break. And that's also the location of the guard change. However, it's every other day in the winter and sadly not on Sunday. So the next one I believe is on Tuesday if you're around 11 o'clock in the morning. It's always at 11 o'clock. You can come and see the bands of the guards. Again, about half an hour, they play lots of marching band tunes, lots of famous pieces from TV or film as well. Just to the left of the guards is the green tent where you hand your audio guides back, and you can also, if you bought your tickets from the Royal Collection, get it stamped to convert it into a 1-year pass, or you can come and visit us as many times as you like in the next year completely for free. So do make use of that if you bought your ticket from the Royal Collection. And just to the left of the green tent is the exit, Henry VIII's gate, and that's the exit to the whole castle, so obviously you'll need to know that at the end of your visit here. Now, one more thing before we move on, we often get asked how many people live in the castle, so as well as the Queen, there's around 150, 160 people that live here. The grey buildings on your left-hand side are home to the Military Knights, a group of retired military officers who although they're retired, they do partake in many ceremonial duties. They go to the chapel every day and pray for the Queen. They take part in Garter Day and many other things as well. Also, the people that work in the chapel live behind the chapel in the Horseshoe Cloisters, so do have a look at the outside of that later on. People like the organist, the choir, the lay clerks, the dean lives just further up here. The verger lives down in Horseshoe Cloisters as well. So lots and lots of people live here as well as the Queen. We're now going to go further up the hill to have a look at the private garden of one of the most important residents apart from the Queen, the Governor and Constable of Windsor. So if you'd like to follow me. Well, ruler of England, but not king, but kind of similar behaviour.
He never stayed or lived in any residence.
He did. He stayed at Windsor. He wanted that royalty was melted down, painted over, what have you. So here we are at the private moat garden of the Governor and Constable of Windsor Castle. He lives in Norman Tower, just in front of you, and he has around 24 rooms at his disposal. So I know his grandchildren very much enjoy coming around and choosing where they like to stay, and games of hide and seek must be pretty amazing. It's generally a 5-year fixed-term employment, the Governor, so they recruit from the Army, the Navy and the Air Force. The present Governor's been here for about 2 years or so, and he was formerly a Rear Admiral in the Royal Navy. Now, the main role of the Governor here is to be the Queen's official representative. So when the Queen's not here, the Governor's in charge. So it's kind of, I suppose, not an umbrella term, but he will be the one that all the decisions will go up to, and he will make the final decision. So although he's not necessarily always visible or always being at the head of everything, he is the go-to for all the decisions. So he lives in Norman Tower. He loves doing gardening with his wife, so although the moat garden is looked after by a team of gardeners, you sometimes see the Governor and his wife out there walking their dog or tending to the roses. And in August at weekends, the Governor very kindly opens the garden to the public, so you pay a couple of pounds at weekends to go in and look around at the rose garden, looking a little bit better than it does now in October. The vegetable patches there, lots of little nooks and crannies where people can go and sit and have a rare bit of peace and quiet in August at Windsor. And you can also walk along the top of the mound there where the fence area is. And when you're walking there, you can really get a sense of how steep the mound is. From here, really don't see how impossible it would be to climb up. Again, when we do tower tours, you stand where the cannons are, just on the lower area of the tower, and again you can get a really good view of how steep and how impossible it would have been to climb. So a similar sort of answer there to the question. We had 2 sieges here in the medieval times, one in 1193 and one in 1216 under the reign of Prince John, who then became King John of Robin Hood fame. Now John was a very unpopular king. The English barons rose up against him. They wanted to put Louis of France on the English throne, and it was the second siege really that did the most damage to the Round Tower, causing it to be rebuilt in the 1220s. Now, lots of defensive mechanisms came into being at the castle at that time. Some were portcullis, I don't know the plural of portcullises, wooden or metal gates, lattice shaped like a waffle, that would have been lowered very quickly to stop anyone gaining access to the king's state and private apartments and to the king himself. There would have been one in Norman Arch there. I think remnants of it still exist, just in the dent in between, I suppose. And then the 3 holes above it, they're known as murder holes. Now if you've been to the Tower of London, you'll know similar. They have similar murder holes there, and from which lots of horrible things would have been pelted down at the enemy, such things as boiling water, hot tar, sand, stones, rubbish. One lady on a previous tour of mine said cheese, so I'm sure if they had cheese to hand they'd throw that down as well. And also more unpleasant smelly things that I'm sure you can imagine. In our family tours we do here, we say it rhymes with goo, so there we go. We'll walk through the archway now, and if anything falls on us we'll blame the Governor, as he lives above, but on a more serious note, it was blocked up in the Victorian times. Fire of 1992. They just managed to squeeze in through this archway, and you can see the fire engine red at the bottom, blue at the top, just where the blue paint scraped off. So thank goodness it was the archway is as big as it is, and it's not any smaller otherwise.
Oops, sorry.
Some of the 951 rooms there are in Upper Ward. Now when the Queen travels to Windsor, it's either by helicopter or by car, and the last part of the journey is always by car. So the car comes in through George IV Gate, the central archway there, turns around to the top left-hand corner and goes in through one of the 3 wooden doors, of which you can see one of them is open. It's there, there is an indoor portico there, sort of an indoor covered over way that gives the Queen a little bit of privacy getting out of the car, and also if the weather's bad, she doesn't need an umbrella when she goes up to the private apartments. Now we have state visits here during Easter Court, which I mentioned earlier in April. We were going to have one this year, the head of state of Spain, but unfortunately due to their government and politics and re-elections and stuff, they postponed. Hopefully that will happen later next year apparently. But a couple of years ago we had the state visit of the President of Ireland, Michael Higgins, and he was met by the Queen and Prince Philip in Windsor Town. The town was decked with flags of, in this case, Ireland, and then the Union flag, and they was come out by horse and carriage village, and they did a lap around the quadrangle here, around the gravel, and in the centre of the grass was about 300 or 400 soldiers. It was known as a guard of honour. So some of you may have seen the guard change here at Buckingham Palace. That's probably what, about 30 or 40, maybe 50 soldiers. Imagine 300 or 400 of them there. Again, you'll get a little bit of a view of the three of them walking past, how many that would take to fill. So the Queen and the State Visitor would then inspect the guard before going up into the apartments, and the State Visitor resides in rooms just above the archway on the principal floor, the first floor there, with a lovely view down the long walk. Now, a long walk, you can see a photo of it on your audio guides, but also when you get to the guard chamber or the or St George's Hall in the State Apartments, do line yourself up with the archway. You can get an amazing view down the long walk, similar to what the State Visitor would have. Now, the statue here on our right hand side is of Charles II. Now, instead of being portrayed as he usually is with his long dark flowing hair, he's shown as a Roman centurion on horseback. Just below that there is a carved stone plinth carved by Gwynedd Gibbons. Now, his usual medium pine wood can be seen in the state dining room, the King's dining room in the State Apartments. So do have a look at that when you go through the state rooms a bit later on. Now, Charles II had a water engine or water pump installed in this area, probably why it later took the name of Engine Court. So do remember that for the last bit of our tour. Now, wait till you can watch the soldiers finish, and then we'll turn around when they've done their business. All they're doing is changing over with their colleagues. There's about every 2 hours they'll go around and meet their colleagues and then go back and have their break. Sorry? Some regiments are. I did see a lady one today. Not often, but I suppose we got some court business done, as well as admiring paintings and tapestries and the like. Now, in the 1800s, this was changed into the Royal Library. Sadly, no public access, but they do have a huge amount of books and important documents in their collection. Their oldest document is 8th century Egyptian papyrus, so fairly old, and the clock that Henry VIII gave to Anne Boleyn on their wedding day is also housed in the library. Now, we do have an exhibition on William Shakespeare at the moment in our drawings gallery, so when you go in there, do have a look. There's a floor-to-ceiling photo of one of the rooms in the library, so pretty much that's the closest any of us will get to the Royal Library today. But sometimes they do study days in the library, so do check our website if you want to maybe book one of those days to actually have a glimpse into the Royal Library yourself. Now, a couple of things before we move on to our last stop. The exit to the State Apartments is just here. It's a one-way route, so if you get lost, you'll end up outside here, and you can head down the hill to Middle Ward and the exit of the castle. Engine Court shop here is one of 3 shops around the castle that sells all sorts of postcards and souvenirs and things like that, in case you need to pop in and write a postcard or two. And we're going to head down the stairs now, just to the left of the post box, to our last stop, the North Terrace. It is quite dark on the stairs, so do use the handrail if you need to, and do let your eyes adjust. And when we get down the stairs, we'll turn right to our last stop, so if you'd like to follow me. Moat, so making it very, very difficult for anyone to climb up and attack. Now, in the distance you can see a chapel-shaped building. This is Eton College and its chapel. Over this way, climbing behind trees. And Eton's probably the most famous school in England, if not the world. There are many famous stations you can see there. Both princes, William and Harry, about 19 of our British Prime Ministers, Boris Johnson, Hugh Laurie and Eddie Redmayne, Bear Grylls, the famous Victorian that was seen on TV, and Ian Fleming, the chap who wrote the James Bond stories, and James Bond himself also there, obviously. Now, Eton College generally takes schools from the ages of about 12 to 18, so kind of a secondary college age school. And the chapel particularly was created in the time of King Henry VI in the 1440s. Now, Henry VI was actually born at Windsor Castle as well, and you may notice it looks very similar to our St George's Chapel. So 1440 Henry VI, 1475 Edward IV. Both of these kings were rivals in the Battle of the Road between the House of York and the House of Lancaster. This good for Henry VIII to practice his archery, his bow and arrow shooting. And as you can see, it's a perfectly long avenue for doing so. His daughter Elizabeth I had this area made more permanent into a stone structure, where, similar to her long gallery, she could take exercise, very much enjoying walking, and again, probably getting business done with courtiers, but outside when the weather was good. Now, moving on a few more years, in the mid-1600s, Charles II, our merry monarch from the beginning of the tour, had this area restored to its present width, the same width as you see today, and he had a fountain installed at the very end of the terrace, which connected to his water pump in Engine Court and flowed with water. However, on high days and holidays, it not only flowed with water, it flowed with red wine. So you can imagine all the parties he would have had with his court, with all his mistresses, with his the fashions of the day. Must have been an amazing occasion. And on that high note brings us to the end of our tour. Just a couple of things to tell you before you go on your way. The queue on the left-hand side is for the Doll's House and the State Apartments. If you wish to skip the Doll's House, you can just go straight down the right-hand side. But bear in mind, it's been quite busy today. The queue probably won't get too much shorter until the very end of the day. Definitely don't miss out the Doll's House. It was created for the Queen's grandmother, Queen Mary, in the 1920s. It has real working plumbing and electricity. Tiny replica of, it's a tiny replica of everything really. A high-end London home of the 1920s. It has a miniature library with tiny books with real writing in, oil paintings, a tiny replica of the crown jewels, a wine cellar with real wine, vintage wine and champagne, although the champagne is flat so the corks didn't pop up and destroy the Doll's House. And my favourite thing in it, the chap who made it, Edwin Lutyens, was such a perfectionist. He put a real pea underneath the princess's bed. You know the story of the princess and the pea? No one's going to know that, but Lutyens knew it, so I do like that, that's quite cute. Now the toilets are just beyond where my colleague is, at the end of the terrace there, and I say that as there's no toilets in the State Apartment, so do use them if you need to. And it's number 7 for the Doll's House on your audio guide, and then it carries on in numerical order. However, if you miss numbers 1 to 6, feel free to do that and see what I've missed out or what I've added and so forth. Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask myself now or ask any of my colleagues standing in the rooms. You probably know standing in a room all day, standing still, not talking to anyone for 2 hours, very, very boring. They'd love to answer your questions, they'd love to share their knowledge with you and learn something from you as well. So however you spend the rest of your day, have a fantastic time, and thank you very much for coming on the Basics with me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great Western Railway welcomes you aboard this service from Windsor and Eton Central to Slough. Full Slough.
Safety information is on coasters in the vestibule. Please take a moment to read this important information. Please do not leave any items of luggage unattended on trains or at stations. If you become aware of any suspicious item,
ऐसे कैसे वो बोलेगा वो तो नेक्स्ट टाइम क्वेश्चन देगा उसमें ये होगा उसी की वजह से आया होगा
we are now approaching Slough, our final stop for this service. Please have your tickets and travel documents ready and remember to take all your belongings with you.
Please mind the gap between the train and the platform. This is Knightsbridge. This is a Piccadilly line.
Change here for the central line.
The next train to Guild Greenwich will arrive in 1 minute. Next station, Westminster.
I'm not coming. Sorry? 8:36, follow the sign.
shining down. This ain't so high. You switch my world around. I feel this way. My feet don't touch the ground. Love you.
Thank you for flying with us today. You're no doubt keen to lose yourself in our dazzling world of entertainment, but first we're going to show you a safety film, and we'd like you to give it your full attention. It's really important that you watch and understand it, because together we're all responsible for safety on this flight. It helps explain the safety equipment and procedures to this particular aircraft, and gives you an idea of what to do in an emergency. If you have any questions after watching it,
The aisles and exits need to be kept clear. So, if there is anything you haven't put in the overhead lockers, put them under the seat in front of you. Now.
It's really important that your seatbelt is securely fastened. If it isn't, push the two ends together until they click. Then tighten it by pulling the strap, like this. If there's an airbag attached, make sure it's not twisted. You can open your seatbelt like this. Keep your seatbelt on and pull the tag or the mask down to turn on the oxygen. Put the mask over your mouth and nose with the rubber band around your head. Fit your mask first before helping anyone else with theirs. You absolutely can't smoke anywhere on this flight, and that means anywhere, not even the toilets. It's just not safe. The same goes for these electronic and smokeless cigarettes.
We all have a lot of electronic devices. Please make sure they're switched to flight safe or airplane mode now. For more details on using your devices on the flight, please take a look at your safety card. If we land on water, take your life jacket from under your seat. Pull the tab to release it. Then open the bag and take the jacket out. Slip it over your head, pass the long strap around your waist and security clip at the front. Put on the loose end to tighten it. Only inflate it when you're outside so it doesn't restrict your escape. Pull the red tab hard or blow into the tube to inflate. There's a light to attract attention. Cabin crew will hand out smaller life jackets for children.
To help reduce injury in an emergency landing, fasten your seatbelt tight. Put both feet together firmly on the floor, slightly under your seat. Place one hand over the other on the back of your head. Bend forward, elbows outside your knees. Rest your head on the seat in front if you can. If you have a child on your lap, place one hand on your head, lean over your child and place one hand on their head.
on the slide, and when you get to the end, move away quickly. The slides can also be used as rafts. Okay, we're nearly ready to go. Please now make sure your seatbelt's fastened low and tight, your seat's upright, the armrest is down, and your footrest is tucked away. If your screen isn't in the back of the seat in front of you, return it to its home now. There's a safety card in your seat pocket. Have a good look through to remind you of what you've seen and for information about this particular aircraft. Please always pay attention to the signs and the crew. They're
and put it right here at your fingertips. It's all just a touch away, so here's a quick look at how to best enjoy what's on offer. Simply use the touchscreen to select one of the tabs at the top and your choices will appear. From there you can scroll through our Multimedia Library by pressing the arrows, or swipe backwards and forwards like this. With a selection that includes dozens of dazzling films and documentaries, a formidable lineup of top TV shows and an eclectic music collection, our diverse range is designed to cater for every taste. Whatever you're into, there's something for you. But if, like me, you just can't decide, then check out Vera Loves for entertainment that's been handpicked by the Virgin Atlantic team. Packed with personal recommendations and hidden gems you might otherwise have overlooked, this is the stuff we love and that we think you'll love too. Just select any of the entertainment tabs and follow the options on screen, or simply press play. If you see something you like but don't want to play it right now, then our Save for Later feature lets you build your very own playlist of films, TV shows and audio, saving you the hassle of searching through choices again and again and giving you a truly bespoke, on-demand experience. Just press the Save for Later button whenever you see it, and the item will automatically be added to your playlist. If you want to turn on your reading light at any time, you can access the shortcut menu by either touching the light under your monitor or the arrow on this bar at the bottom. A pop-up menu will also give you access to controls for screen brightness, language options, volume, our kids section, and even one of our super crew members. It's okay, I'm still here. Where in the world are you? If you're curious, then check out our sky map by touching the flight progress bar on the menu screen. This will show you where the aircraft is in its journey, and even let you explore the globe via interactive views. And that's not all. If you'd like to keep in touch with other passengers on board, check out our Seat Chat application and get socializing. We think you'll love our on-demand entertainment, but we also know that sometimes it's just nice to be left to your own devices. That's why we've given you the option to connect your own USB gadgets to your seat, so you can enjoy your own music or photographs on the big screen. Just slot your USB stick straight in like this, and off you go. You can also get online with your own devices using the onboard Wi-Fi. Listen out for crew announcements or check Vera magazine for more information. So that's it, simple. We hope we've covered everything, but if you do need more of a guide, then just tap on the Help tab. Here you'll also find details of how to select movie languages, apply hard of hearing captions, and access parental controls. There's a whole world of dazzling entertainment at your fingertips, just waiting to be explored. So sit back, relax, and lose yourself with Vera.
ports don't allow use of mobile phones. If you have been using one of our own headsets, we ask you to leave it on your seat where we
If you're ready, there is somebody waiting out there for you. Bye-bye. Bye now. Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Big happy guys.